All right, we've been on this crazy journey, tracing a hidden history of power all across Europe. But now, we're bringing it right home, to America's front door. This is it, the final piece of the puzzle, the echo in America.
Okay, look, no warm-up. Let's just dive right in. I want you to forget everything your high school history teacher told you, because the central claim we're exploring today is absolutely explosive. The New Deal wasn't just a simple response to the Great Depression. No, it was a conscious, deliberate copy of the systems that were rising in fascist Italy and Germany.
So you gotta be asking yourself, how in the world did these fascist ideas end up in the White House? It all comes down to one single, incredibly powerful, and now almost totally forgotten government agency.
And that agency was the National Recovery Administration, the NRA. Now, on paper, its mission sounded pretty good, right? Bring industry, labor, and the government together to create fair competition and fix prices. Sounds reasonable. But you know what they say, the devil is in the details. And that innocent-sounding phrase, it was hiding a truly radical reality.
Because in reality, the NRA was a blueprint for a centrally planned American economy. It was designed to completely get rid of what it called harsh competition and replace it with industrial collaboration. Now that sounds nice and friendly, doesn't it? But what it really meant was a system straight out of Europe's corporatist playbook, where the government and big business get into bed together to run the whole show from the top down.
And the sheer power this thing had, it's just mind-boggling. We're talking about more than 500 industrial codes that controlled almost every single part of American business. I mean, just try to picture this. The government telling a local tailor not just the price of a suit, but exactly what wages he had to pay his workers. It forced everyone to the table. It openly propped up business cartels to fix prices, and basically put a government bureaucrat in charge of, well, everything. The government wasn't just a referee anymore. Oh no, it was the one running the entire game.
And get this wasn't some backroom secret. It was all out in the open. The source material points out that Roosevelt and Mussolini actually expressed mutual admiration for each other. They saw a kindred spirit in one another's bold strategies for state control of the economy. I mean, just pause on that. The President of the United States and the fascist dictator of Italy finding common ground. Wow, just let that one sink in.
Okay, but this isn't just a history lesson. This stuff has echoes today, which brings us to a very, let's call it, a provocative question. Is there a modern parallel in so-called Bernienomics? Yeah, I know it's a charged comparison, but stick with me, because it's based on some principles that are, well, you'll see how similar they are.
But first, let's be absolutely 100% crystal clear. This is not a direct comparison, okay? The goals, the methods, the entire scope, they're worlds apart. Senator Sanders works within a democracy, using laws and taxes. Historical fascism was totalitarian. It used brute force, seizure, and violence. The difference is absolutely monumental. We are not saying they are the same thing.
Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, here's the kicker. Even though the methods are totally different, the source material argues there are some surprising ideological overlaps, things they share. A core belief in massive state intervention to provide economic security, a willingness to prioritize national needs over what the free market decides, and a powerful economic nationalism that is deeply critical of things like free trade and globalism.
Now, you can see it pretty clearly, right? When you hear proposals for universal health care or tuition-free college, what are they really about? They're modern versions of a very old idea that the state's main job is to provide economic security for its people. That idea is a direct philosophical descendant. It's got the same DNA as those big programs from the New Deal.
This quote from an early Italian nationalist really just nails it. Nationalism is our socialism. This is the heart of that economic nationalism we were talking about. It's that deep skepticism of global free trade, of open borders. It's the core idea of this so-called third path, where the nation comes first, period.
Okay, so now it's time to zoom all the way out, because all of these things we've been talking about, fascism, the New Deal, even these modern echoes, they all connect to a much bigger, overarching theory of power. This is the third path revealed.
And the key to understanding it is this concept, the developmental dictatorship. Now, for a minute, I want you to forget all the labels, all the isms. Just focus on the model. It's a system where a central power grabs total control of everything, the economy, society, with one goal, to rapidly build up the nation and make sure it survives, no matter what.
And this is where the simple left-right political line you learned in school just completely breaks. You know, we're taught that fascism on the far right and Marxism-Leninism on the far left are mortal enemies, total opposites.
But this theory says, nope, they're not. They have structural homologies. Think of it like this. They're different flavors of the same ice cream. They use different slogans, they point at different enemies, but the underlying machinery of total state control, it's almost identical.
And you can see the difference right here. In a liberal system, the main goal is to protect your individual rights. For a classic Marxist system, the goal is a classless society. But for these developmental or third path systems we're talking about, the goal is 100% single-mindedly focused on one thing: national survival and power. Everything, and I mean everything else, comes second.
So once you peel back all the layers, you ignore the propaganda, the flags, the big rallies. What's left? What's the raw mechanical goal? It's socializing production, taking control of the economy, but not for the workers and not for the individual. It's to serve the nation's needs, stability, massive infrastructure projects, and building a country that can survive anything.
So, after all that, where does this leave us? Well, it tells us we need a completely new way to look at the world, a new political compass.
And here's the bottom line, the biggest takeaway from all of this. The simple political map you were given in school, capitalism on the right, socialism on the left, it's not just oversimplified, it's broken. It's dangerously misleading because it hides more than it actually explains. Think about it. Corporatism, fascism, state socialism, and yes, even the core ideas of the New Deal, these weren't just random things that happened. They were all radical, sometimes desperate, and often brutal answers to the same fundamental question: how in the world do you organize and run a massive, modern society?
So maybe this is a better way to map it all out. Forget left versus right. Think about these core conflicts instead. The real tug of war is between national unity and individual freedom. It's the battle between state control and private markets. It's the choice between forcing class collaboration or accepting class struggle. These are the real political battle lines.
So, in the end, the real fight isn't left versus right at all. It's much deeper than that. It's the collective versus the individual. And what we've just seen, what these systems show us, are the truly terrifying lengths leaders will go to find an answer to that question. And that choice, that struggle, that's not just something in a history book. It's happening all around us, right now.